Bahrain consisted of lots of pit stops, multiple cars malfunctioning, and George Russell continuing to find his way onto the podium alongside Team McLaren. It's lights out and away we go for episode 172 of the Eaton Asphalt podcast. All right. Well, another fantastic weekend for the McLaren. I see you are fully repped, as you should be. So congrats
Oh my
again for
gosh.
another fantastic weekend.
I didn't even notice. That's crazy,
That's
but yeah,
crazy, dude.
that's crazy. Double McLaren for another double podium. The boys are ripping. Lando seems a little depressed, but minor setback for major comeback. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. I mean, I don't know. I think it started as a kind of a joke for me on the Lando hate. It started to grow on me a little bit.
Oh yeah?
Yeah,
The hate or Lando?
Lando.
Oh, Lando's growing on you.
No.
The hate's
My
growing
hate
on you.
towards Lando. Yes, correct.
Got it. All right,
You
now we're on
think
the
like
same
as
page.
LN3 has hashtag LN3 like big supporter everything he does? Do you think like you see where I'm coming from?
So here's the thing. Every now and then champions get a
Oh,
little
can't
bit
say that.
testy.
Can't say that.
Championship leaders get a little
Okay.
testy.
Okay.
Okay. So that's what happens. That's what's going on right now. Minor
Hmm.
setback, major comeback. No need to panic. He's a great driver, and everyone needs to just chill out, dude. All right. And that's final.
All right. Yep. Cool guy, Lando. He's everyone loves him. Everyone loves him, dude. It's funny how like all the Max haters are starting to be like, actually, dude, Max isn't so bad. But anyways, we have a 2-for-1 this week. We are going to talk about the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix upcoming, as well as talk about Bahrain. So this part of the podcast, or the sectors we're going to cover, is hot lap recap, our fastest thoughts, our TikTok thoughts, winners and losers from Bahrain, gambling predictions recap, Saudi Arabia Grand Preview, country fun facts, and our predictions and gambling for Saudi Arabia. So getting right into it, our hot lap recap. All right, let's head into the hot lap recap where we move on to quals on Saturday. Kind of go to the list. Fantastic. Yuki made it into Q3, knocked out Liam Lawson, that put him into out in Q1. So another race, another weekend, tough weekend for Lawson. But finally, Yuki shows a little bit of life, maybe saying that, hey, maybe he does deserve that, that second seat in Red Bull a little more than Liam Lawson. Alex Albon doesn't make it out of Q1. Esteban Ocon had a decent sized crash into Q2. So he was able to start P15, making him to Q2, but that's about it there. Pierre Gasly, his best qualifying ever at P5, moved up into in P3 and Q2, moved up to P4 due to a few penalties for the Mercedes boys. Oscar Piastri lands his second career pole position. Lando and Max Verstappen had a tough day Saturday, finishing P6 and P7 respectively. And as I said earlier, Mercedes both get a one-place grid penalty. Post quals for leaving the garage early, moving Charles to P2, Pierre Gasly to P4. Moving on to Sunday. Overall, I think this was kind of hard for me. I'm curious to hear your take, Ian. For me to know what was going on, really. First, Verstappen starting kind of further back on the grid than we're used to. Also, just so many people on different pit strategies. I just couldn't truly tell like who was kind of back on the grid or further back on the grid due to like newer pit stop compared to like who was back there just struggling. It was a very tough. You layer that on with just them not showing the grid at all for a good half of the race. So kind of harder to figure out what was going on the entire Sunday for me. Lando started off very strong, moving up 3 spots by cheating. Got a 5-second grid penalty for starting ahead of the line. Facts are facts. Lewis had a strong go at Carlos Sainz. Sainz wasn't having it. This was about pretty early on in the race. Seemed to let Max go a few, and some like we've seen in weeks prior, some top teams, top drivers kind of go by, doesn't try as hard, but wasn't going to let this one happen so easily. I think there's probably a little bit of animosity, being like, you took my job. I'm not going to make this easy for you. Finally got it past him about a lap later. Um, Kimi Antonelli had some great lunges throughout the race. Uh, Started in a pretty decent position, and then I think just kind of due again to some difficult strategy moving. Just didn't finish very well. Very nice pass from Charles over Lando towards the end of the race. Very nice. I mean, I know different. It was a different pit strategy, like I said. Newer tires from Charles. Just not used to seeing a Ferrari pass from McLaren. I'm going to take that as a huge win. And then a very fun restart from the safety car. Lando trying to pass Charles, which allowed Lewis to pass Lando. Lando repasses, had to give it back up for passing off the track, then actually passed Lewis to begin after that. So I think there was actually like a lot of things going on during the safety car, post safety car, which was fun. Ferrari went on the odd strategy of going both hard tires after everyone said throughout the race how awful the hards were. And I mean, as you saw, George Russell had 24 laps on a soft and did pretty darn well. So great strategy from the Ferrari boys. And then Charles held off Lando for 16 laps on a poor hard tire, like I said. George, I think, should give a huge tip of the cat, huge thanks to Charles because he needed every one of those laps to save P2. And then Oscar Piastri just chilled into P1. Fantastic race for him. And that does it for our hot lap recap.
Excellent hot lap recap, Marco, as always. Now let's move on to our TikTok takes or TikTok thoughts, as you called them earlier. I think I like both. Um, Here's the thing. This past weekend, a lot of hate for Lando Norris. I think this was the best possible thing that could have happened to Lando Norris. You saw him. You may have seen him down in the dumps, like a depressed little Eeyore, just moping around, kind of mad at himself. But if you ask me, all we saw this past weekend was a championship-leading driver coming into the weekend, having bad luck in quality, and then thinking outside of the box, literally outside of the box, to take him from P6 to a podium finish. Nothing more, nothing less. Little adversity in the season, early on in the season, keeps him hungry in a car that's absolutely at the top of the mountain right now. We don't want him getting complacent. You got to keep him hungry. So Lando leads the championship still. Totally fine. We're cool. No need to panic. Relax. Just be cool. We're cool. It's all fine. We're fine. No need to worry. So everyone stop worrying.
Nice. Follow up on that. Isn't it also interesting how Oscar Piastri is like pretty open, being like, this McLaren car rocks. And he's like, yeah, it sucked to be in a Red Bull. It's like, I'm so happy in this car. This car is a rocket ship. And then his predecessor, his counterpart, is like, this car sucks. Max would hate this car. This guy would, George is an idiot. This car sucks. You guys are just giving blown shit up my ass. Isn't that weird how different that is?
Yeah, it is weird. It's a little weird. You're right. Oscar Piastri is so Gen Z that he doesn't care at all about like he'll win a race and be like, "All right, great job, guys! Like, way to go, nice." Like, there's probably going to be a party tonight, right? Uh, I get that. I'm cool. I'm hip, cool guy over here. Uh, Maybe don't out your teammate as much as you are right now with, hey, this car is like incredible. Like, I don't know. I don't know how you're not, I don't know how anyone's not winning first place in this car every weekend. Like, hey, dude, chill. You know what I mean? Guy, man, relax. I think it was, who was on the post show? Somebody just saying like, Oscar Piastri's not necessarily waiting his turn to become top dog in McLaren. It's like, all right, man, P2 in McLaren. So chill on that.
Everyone says, like Ian says, let's just chill on the whole McLaren stuff. It's fine, guys.
Yeah,
All right, let's move on. Great, fastest,
jerks.
great TikTok thoughts here. Let's go to our winners and losers of Bahrain. All right, I'll start it off here with my winners. Obviously, I think that it's going to be George. Incredible drive from George, given the issues he had with his car. So he had a dashboard display that dropped, had to do a manual override to his DRS working. Just constant issues throughout, as well as just being in a car that's just not as strong as a McLaren, and was able to hold off P2. So I thought tip of the cap to George. The racing gods did everything they could to not get him on the podium, or at least to a P2. And he just said, fuck that.
Yeah,
Uh,
whatever.
my, it's pretty impressive. Uh, my next is going to be Haas, double points finish, now fifth in the Drivers' Championship. So I think this has been a pretty big surprise so far this year for Haas. A lot of team changes, new drivers, and they are doing very well so far.
Yeah. Tip of the cap to those guys. Double points finish from a Haas. Really, now that Gasly scored points, every single team has points, which is awesome to see. I mean, we're like a quarter of the way into the season, not even, and every team's on the board. That is like a fun thing to see. Midfield's getting closer.
Yeah, yeah, I like it. And speaking of Alpine, both Alpines are my winners for different reasons. Like we said, Gasly P4 in quals, P7 on Sunday. Didn't really see that one coming, especially they were 19 and 20 last year, this time last year in Bahrain. The other winner is Jack Doohan, gets to keep his job through summer break. So gets the monkey off his back for at least another 10 races or so, which is, hey, good on him, enjoy his time in Formula One, at least for the next, couple months.
I support it. I don't understand why. Like if you're bringing in if Colapinto on all these rumors that like he's coming in and then Jack Doohan scores 0 points at the first couple races while his teammate Gasly has 6 points. It's not a ton, but hey, at the end of the day, like that's still somewhat good. I don't understand where this is coming from, but I think maybe just the media sort of like didn't report the whole Colapinto situation well. But who knows? I mean, they could just pull a Red Bull and take him out literally next race and be like,
Yeah.
"Sorry, Bucko."
Yeah. I've started to notice this is kind of something that we've seen in football over the last couple of years where it's like you get a rookie, give him a couple of years to get the feel of being a professional, understand the system, and then throw him out there. And then now it's, you're a rookie, you're a 1-1, you're going to be starting most likely, like, and you should be competing and doing well right off the bat. We're starting to see this in Formula One. I feel like the leash for rookie drivers has been shortened dramatically over the last couple of years, and especially the last year and this year, people are getting the pulling the curtain on them way quicker.
Yeah. Most of that's Red Bull, but yeah, I agree. It's just like if you don't show that you're like gonna be a prodigy, then you're out of there in a year.
Yeah, I mean, we had Williams last year. We got a half year out of our boy Logan Sargent, RIP, made him quit racing forever, which was a tough see. So that's the brutality of Formula One, I guess.
Yeah. He would have been so good, dude, if he just
Dude,
rode
if you
that
give him
season
a
out with
half
him.
year, dude,
Absolute rocket ship.
it's a shame. That does it for my winners. Any ones that I forgot?
No, I also had Yuki, and I think just like Pierre, you mentioned it. Uh, Starting on the second row of the grid in an Alpine that has 0 points this season, like he's another one where it's when people are starting to look around at Red Bull after Yuki probably doesn't score many points in the next like 4 or 5 races, throw him in, dude. This is just the year of everybody gets to race in a Red Bull. They're not the best car, so everyone gets to try it out. And yeah, bring Pierre back. And then
Yeah,
when Pierre's bad, Alex Albon. Alex Albon's bad, Daniel Ricciardo. Daniel Ricciardo's bad, bring back Mark Webber, dude. That's what I want to see.
the second driver should be forced to wear the same helmet. It should be a pineapple. It's like we're a swinger car. You
Okay.
pop in, you come in, you hang out. Not a fan. Ended early. On to the next. Same helmet though. Just a pineapple theme throughout, and just like, hey, this is a swinger car. If
Like
you
you
want
have
in,
to
you
have,
want in,
yeah.
but you might get the boot early.
Hey, this is how it works around here.
Yeah. All right, let's move to our losers. I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. Technology, not a fan this weekend. Shit show for everyone involved. If we didn't have like this tech that actually like tracks everything that we have, I don't know if I could watch F1. I felt like just a very lost puppy watching the race, having no clue what was going on, and being like, "Oh, I'm seeing a pass. Where is this occurring? How many seconds are these behind? What lap this is?" It helps me understand. Hey, there's a battle for fifth. This is a little bit more important, or this is a battle for 18th. I'm probably not going to put that much focus on there. So that was a difficult second half of the race for me. Major tech issues for both drivers as well. The broadcast, George's transformer, like I said, broke halfway through, and I think that's kind of where everything fell off. Just showed him going down the grid dramatically, being like, all right, car broke, he's done. And then got absolutely nothing for 15 laps, just screenshots at where they were like 2 laps behind of what the timing was in the top 10. when I was back up around towards the end, we'd still show some issues about drivers passing when they weren't. I saw Charles pass George from P3 to P2. It was like 4 or 5 seconds behind him. So I was pretty pumped. And then they're like, yeah, that's wrong. All right, that's cool. So frustration on my end as a watcher. And then just multiple drivers had DRS issues. I don't understand how so many different drivers, so many different teams had DRS issues. It has to align with the transformer issue.
Yeah.
I'm assuming because obviously multiple teams were like, hey, you have to make sure you're within a second because we're not entirely sure if you're actually going to be within a second. So just guess.
With the transponder issue, it basically just put us in as if we were watching like in person. Because it's just like when you watch an F1 race in person, you're like, oh, this is great. There's cars going by, they're in a
I
line.
get it.
If you get to see one car pass another car, then great, but
Yeah.
probably not going to happen. And you don't really know where to look. They started when when I almost lost it and turned it off was when Crofty was announcing. Okay, so in first place we had like he was just going down
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
order, and I'm like, guy, this is so in one ear and out the other for me that I like this is a horrible experience. Luckily, if you have F1 TV or F1 TV multi-view, it was a little bit better, but George was all over the place in multi-view. You would have thought that he was just like had an absolute rocket ship that could take him from like the what's the Super Mario like bullet thing where
Oh
you can
yeah.
go from
Yeah.
like
Just
absolute last place
uh-huh.
to like third place and then back to like 14th, but
Blue
then you get
shell
that thing
back.
again. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that was an ideal. Well, that was the first time I remember seeing it that bad and for that long. So hopefully that was a one-time thing there. My next is going to be Red Bull. So after the race, this is kind of a post-race Red Bull loser. Max's manager and Helmut Marko, shocker of him of all people in Red Bull, had a shouting match going on. Reports saying Max will race for any team that does not include George Russell. Saw reports that his contract that he can leave anytime if he falls outside of the top three, and he's only 6 points above George in third place. A lot of speculation. I feel like this is going to be a talking point forever for the rest of the year until something does happen, if anything happens. And then my last loser is going to be Liam Lawson. I think this was post this race. It could have been pre Bahrain. We'll see. He is behind Nikita Mazepin for average finishes after 4 races.
oh no.
It's either before Bahrain, so after 3, or I thought it was after Bahrain 4. Not a good look.
Oh no, dude, that
Yeah,
is so tough.
didn't need to
I
do
we
that. Yeah,
yeah. Oh man, I like him so much, dude. Like it genuinely made me sad when he was out of the Red Bull. He is like one of the most like one of my favorite like personality wise, like perfect little like not Daniel Ricciardo, not to say vibe as Daniel Ricciardo, but like that level of entertainment for me of like he's just like funny, he's outgoing, got good stories. Yeah, man, worse than Makita Mazepin.
a lot of
Better
season
than
left.
yeah, better than Logan Sargent, maybe? No.
I'll have to dig some numbers in there, but we're going to be around the ballpark. I'm going to be substantially better.
Yeah. Uh I had Max as a big loser for being a snitch at the beginning of the race. Mind your own business, dude. Everybody look at
Oh,
Lando. Look at Lando, he's cheating. Shut up, dude. Relax. Focus on your own race, Mr. P7. Nice, dude. Idiot. Yeah. So anyone who's a snitch doesn't necessarily deserve the attention that Max is getting.
it's fair.
I think if they come on the radio and tell Lando, like, Lando, we have a 5 second penalty. Max's bitch ass snitched on you. You can't,
You could have
like,
gotten away with it if Max didn't rat on you.
yeah, dude. It's like, I don't mean to point fingers, but that Verstappen piece of shit. So, like,
Dude, he
anyway,
shows a
yeah,
little bit of Agent George. That's his MO. Agent George is like, wide turn 3 for Albon.
yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
just showing a little bit. Oh, there he
someone,
goes.
someone is cheating. Lando is out of his box. Shut up, dude. Anyway, that's my only loser.
All right, fair. Good loser there. All right, let's move on to gambling predictions recap. Before we get to something a little depressing, we do have an ad. This part of the podcast is brought to you by Apple AirTags. Apple AirTags are the most reliable pieces of tracking technology and the 21st century has ever seen. They have been used to keep track of almost anything, including pets, family members, luggage, where your ex, who you so desperately want back, is headed on her Friday night out after the success Apple and Formula One had with the upcoming F1 movie starring heartthrob Brad Pitt. They're partnering again to ensure that you know where your favorite driver is at all times. Never again will you be left questioning, where's the Sauber car on the grid? While the assumed incorrect answer is they're in last, you'll know exactly how far they are in last. Apple and F1 are taking one step further, too. These AirTags will stay on the driver for fans to see exactly where they are at all times of the day. You'll get to see that Lance Stroll is in fact not working on his racecraft in the simulator, but enjoying some time on his family yacht. Is Liam Lawson on the Red Bull private jet to the next race? No, he's in seat 51C on Ryanair headed to Saudi Arabia. We take the guesswork out of knowing who's leading the races, so you don't have to. Apple AirTag.
Beautiful. Thank you,
All
Apple.
right. Yes. Thank you, Apple. We have the Apple AirTags on as we speak, actually. So if you're a listener, you can start tracking us at all times. Ian has it on his wrists, and that thing is going all the time. All right, let's move on to gambling predictions recap. Like I said, terrible week for the boys. I'll just knock mine out of the way first. I went Max top 3, clearly tough week for him. Kimi top 6, looked good at the beginning of the race, didn't look good at the end, missed them both. So I'm 2-6, minus 4.25 units. Also, my wild card was wrong. New team wins a race. So 0 for 3 for you, boy.
Yeah, but the wild card doesn't count. That's just an extra bonus cherry on top. I had Lando race winner, Lando pole. I thought one of those would happen, but
Oh,
neither of them happened. I did figure out what my problem is though for gambling. And I know I've said this before. I said,
what?
I was like, oh,
Before?
Ian's gonna turn. Ian's always saying he's gonna turn it around. I'm sure everyone's thinking that. My problem is I'm always gambling for plus odds. I'm taking long odds. I'm throwing the ball deep and then dropping the ball. So I figured it out this time. Are we doing gambling for? Oh, we're saving gambling to the end. Why don't we just do
We are.
gambling now?
All right, that's fair. Just to update though, Ian is 1-8, minus 6.09 units. He did forget to say that.
Yeah, I did forget to say whatever Marco said. So here's how we turn it around. Mercedes double points finish minus 450, double unit special. Bing, bang, bong. You know what that means.
Yeah.
Easy win. Under 17 and a half cars to finish the race. DraftKings thinks that this is going to be a bloodbath. Yes or no versus whether or not there was going to be a safety car on the DraftKings odds. Yes, there was a safety car was minus 800 and no was plus 200. So something's going to happen here. Jeddah is a very tight circuit as we'll get to. But yeah, something crazy is going to happen.
Yeah, it does seem like
no.
some good value on this, but I guess we're gonna find out. All right, my turn. I took everything Ian had to say, really took it to for like really intensive purposes. Don't do plus money, so I'm gonna go over 17 and a half classified cars plus more than 2.5 liters in the Grand Prix plus 200, half a unit on that, and then that's what I'm working on. Over Pierre Gasly, bitter old teammates, plus 135, 1 unit there. Gasly had one good race, not going to happen again. So both in the plus monies, you got to chip away. The best way to chip away is getting more than you put in.
That's true. That's true. You gotta bet big money to win big money.
That's right.
Big odds.
All right. So moving on from our gambling predictions recap and gambling predictions going into the next race, we have our Saudi Grand Preview presented by Ian.
All right, let's talk about this track in Saudi Arabia where we've raced since 2021. This is a very different track than Bahrain, both in design and asphalt. Asphalt is much nicer to the tires here just because of how new of a track this is. Been a fair amount of criticism here in Saudi Arabia, as we've mentioned in previous years. A couple human rights violations here and there. There were concerns about it not being ready when it was getting built in 2021. I think it was like 6 weeks out and they still didn't have like walls up. And they were like, hey guys, like we're coming in 6 weeks. Can we make sure to get this set up? Luckily, they had some questionable labor tactics, which they also caught some flack for, which tends to happen over there, is what I hear. There was also some safety concerns just as this track is built. Every corner is basically a blind corner. So very tight track, very narrow track. You can't see what's around you. I think this is sort of where the safety concerns come in, and why no safety car, or sorry, there being a safety car on DraftKings was minus 800. There was also a missile attack when they were like creating this track. There was like 10 miles away, big old missile attack, and F1 just put their head in the sand, sports wash as they do. Track's a little sketch, both on and off, but the track itself is cool, and that's what we care about here at the Eden Asphalt Podcast. We have 50 laps around the circuit. The circuit is on the longer end, 6.1 kilometers or about 3.8 miles. The only longer track than this one is Spa, so this is the second longest. This is also the second fastest average speed on the circuit. So this is like the corners that we have. Not only are they blind, but they're also very, very fast. So the only faster calendar or track we have on the calendar is the Temple of Speed in Monza, Italia. Very fast track, skinny track, and the most turns as well. So not only are the turns blind, not only are the turns narrow, not only are the turns fast, but there's a lot of turns. There's the most turns on here. So 27 total turns, all very high speed, which awesome, a little scary. This is one where I don't think we talked about it last week. Every driver says that, oh, this is like my favorite track coming into it. I don't know if any driver is going to say like, oh, I love this track or this is like my favorite track. I think this is like a bit of an anxiety, like grip the wheel a little tighter track. But could make for some good action for us. So as far as weather is concerned, weather in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia coming up this weekend. It's going to be hot. It's going to be sunny. 88 degrees, 90 degrees, and 91 degrees for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, respectively. Sunny all the time. I think the last time it rained in Saudi Arabia was actually 2014. I just made that up. But anyway, that is
Lie.
our,
Two truths, a lie. Got it.
that is our Saudi Grand Preview. And let's get right in to try to trick each other with some lies with our country fun facts for Saudi Arabia.
Hey, Ian, before we get there, what does this track look like?
This track looks like a snake.
Nice. I was going to say it looks like one of those one little piece of sperm.
Oh, yeah, I see that.
You
A
know?
little
Yep.
sperm cell.
Don't think that we could probably post that one. So we're going to go with snake. Don't know those rules, but I think I nailed it.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, let's get into our country fun facts. Two truths and a lie. All right, country fun facts, two truths and a lie style. I will go first. I've been kind of on a roll lately with tricking you, Marco. So, as everybody knows, I'll give two truths about Saudi Arabia mixed in with one lie and try to catch Marco out. So, number one, or basically, we have dabbing, cemeteries, and mirrors. Dabbing, cemetery, mirrors. Dabbing, the popular dance move, the dab, is banned in Saudi Arabia because it is associated with drug culture, and performing it in the view of a policeman can lead to an arrest. Cemeteries. Women are not allowed to enter cemeteries in Saudi Arabia, a restriction rooted in cultural and religious traditions. Or mirrors. In the downtown area of Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, mirrors are banned within a 2 mile radius of a city limit as part of a religious belief that looking at oneself promotes an unholy vanity. Dabbing, cemeteries, or mirrors?
I'll be honest, John, I am clueless on this one. Gotta go with the mirrors. That seems ridiculous. That's probably true.
He broke it. That is the lie. Mirrors is the lie.
Oh, yes. That
Yeah,
would seem
yeah.
wild, dude. Whew.
It did seem a little like out of, I was just trying to make one up off the top of my head, and I was like,
Mhm.
what would they be against? Mirrors, because
I
it's
mean, yeah,
unholy.
like I said, it was a guess in the dark. So it wasn't crazy enough for me to be like I could spot this. I've also been pretty
How
cold on this, so
how many countries do you think dabbing is banned in?
not
The
enough.
dance move.
Am I
The
right?
dance move.
I'm kind of on their side of the dabbing part. Let's go with 12.
I don't know. This might be
Oh,
the only
I
one.
thought you had that. I thought it was a little quip that I was going to learn too. Okay. At least one. That's all we know.
Yeah,
All
greater
right.
than or equal to one.
All right. My turn. Here we go. I have travel, dancing, and witchcraft. So travel, Saudi women trying to travel outside of Saudi Arabia have to go through a number of requirements in order to leave the country. This includes writing a report stating where you are planning to go and for how long, followed by an interview with government official. Then finally getting written consent from their male handler, as they say, which is typically their husband. This process can take several weeks to months. The way I look at this is like if you're in like middle school and they're like, hey, we're doing like the overnight stay, but you have to get a certain amount of, you got to get an A. And then you also have to get your parents to say yes well before you get invited. So good luck. So that's how I kind of looked at that one. Dancing. They have a rich tradition of dances, obviously in Saudi Arabia, big dancing culture. One of the fun dances is called the bullet dodge jump dance, which involves dancers. Sounds exactly what it sounds. Or it is exactly what it sounds like. Involves dancers dodging bullets while jumping in the air. And then witchcraft. Saudi Arabia took witchcraft so seriously that the country had banned the Harry Potter books until 2012 by Anti-Witchcraft Action Unit, AWAU is what I called it, under the Committee for the Promotion of Virtue and Prevention of Vice, the CPV. The unit is charged with apprehending sorcerers and reversing the harmful effects of their spells.
I'm gonna go with witchcraft as the lie.
That is true.
That's true.
That is
All right.
true.
Wow. They have an anti-witchcraft. It's like a SWAT team, but like they have like shields for the for the wands.
Dude, even if a kid has like a little scar, but it's real, they're like, get him.
Out of you.
You
Is it
die.
dancing? Is it dancing? I can't
Dancing
imagine.
is also true. I saw a lot of videos of the
Okay.
bullet dodge jump dance. It's wild. They do it, they hold a shotgun, like a long two-barrel shotgun, and they do like two jumps and then they jump in the air, shoot it at the ground and land.
Okay.
So the travel was false.
Okay. Well, now I feel like a bad person for thinking that that was true.
You're like, that one definitely nailed it.
I mean, I was like, yeah, checks out.
Move on.
Uh,
Down to two.
all right. Well, good stuff. You got me. Got me big time. And you're
Finally,
turning this
dude.
thing around just like I'm turning my gambling around.
Fucking God can hope, you know.
All right. Well, now that everybody's more educated on Saudi Arabia, as we always shoot for, best of luck to all the drivers in the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix. We'll see everybody on the other side for a recap, and I look forward to the Miami Grand Prix in just
Yes,
two
we're
weeks.
back.
Sounds good. All right. Thanks, everybody. See you,
See
assholes.
ya.
Hey, thought you could leave without saying goodbye.
I used to say I lived my life a quarter mile at a time. And I think that's why we were brothers. Because you did too.